Howdy, welcome to another episode of Duck the Law. We've been on a short hiatus because I've been moving, packing, moving, dealing with everything that comes with that. But I have the studio set up and I kind of wanted to make a video, say hello, and test how everything's working. Today we're going to do a review video on a video that Shaun King posted yesterday, I believe. I just watched it right now. There's not a lot to it. It's a short video, a lot of information's missing, but it looked like a good opportunity to go over some misconceptions that people have about the police, the law, and children. So let's see what we can dig up from this video.
For no fucking reason. You got dogs and shit on our kids.
So, first of all, this is the format the video came to me in. I'm not cutting anything out. When you do record the police, make it, what do they call it, landscape. You get more video things that are important with the wider shot than you do with the vertical. So I know things are stressful in the moment. It's hard to remember a bunch of stuff, but if you can remember when filming the police, try to do landscape mode.
Do that shit to your motherfucking kids.
Okay, it looks like we're dealing with some kids in handcuffs.
It don't matter. Got my baby Chris hurt and shit. Can y'all get her out the car now? Get
I'm trying to see what jurisdiction this is. It looks like Maplewood. I don't know what state that's in. But when discussing or thinking about the law, you always want to know what jurisdiction you're in because that's how you figure out what laws apply. Federal laws don't even apply evenly everywhere. It depends on what circuit you're in. If the Supreme Court hasn't heard it, then you have to go off your federal circuit or your state Supreme Court. So it all depends. But jurisdiction's a big deal when looking at these kinds of things. So they're in Maplewood. I don't know where that's at.
baby out that car. I ain't leaving till your baby out that car.
Justin.
They saying that they
Justin,
no.
your mama got this, okay?
They don't do this shit to their kids. They don't go out there where the fuck y'all live at. Do y'all do that shit to y'all kids where y'all live at? My baby.
And she's making a point. Do you do that to your kids where you live at? In poor neighborhoods, kids are harassed more by cops. And unfortunately, that's because people of color in the United States have been historically deprived of education and work opportunities, and it's only recently that that's really started to change within a generation or two. Um, so poverty is the thing that leads to a lot of crimes. You have, and that's why a lot of historically black and brown Latino communities are high in crime. There's poverty. People are trying to get what they can from where they can because they lack the resources. Poverty has a lot to do with crime. They go hand in hand. You address poverty, you also address crime.
Y'all re-traumatizing our kids. Do that shit to y'all kids.
Like, let them out. It's okay.
My baby is fucking crying. Fuck y'all.
Fuck, bogus as fuck. Don't have shit. No fucking evidence. Goofy as fuck.
Okay, he said you have no evidence. And it looks like these kids are in handcuffs. They look pretty young. They all look under 15 or so. So first of all, can you handcuff kids? Sure. If they've broken the law, there's no requirement that just because you're a kid you don't get handcuffs. And the cops are going to follow their own internal procedures for these types of issues, and that's going to vary from department to department. But generally, there's no law regarding handcuffing kids. If a crime is committed and they're being booked or taken to jail, sometimes even detained, and we'll talk about that right now, then procedure is to handcuff. and I don't know. It depends on the department if they make different rules for juveniles or teens or preteens or toddlers. Um, and of course, there is a minimum age where you can um, form criminal faculties. Um, at common law, I forget, it's something like 6 to 8 years old, something like that. And either if you're above that, you can be criminally culpable for your actions. Um, okay, and oh well, let's while we're stopped, let's talk about um, detainment. You know what? Let's watch a little bit more. I want to see if we can hear any reasons why they're being detained.
That's okay. Y'all gonna have a lawsuit. I want your car, every last one of y'all cars.
Okay, and it's always a good idea to get the ID, badge numbers, and department of the officers you're interacting with, especially if there's any kind of misconduct. She's saying she wants to sue them and she wants to get all of their cards. Great idea. The other thing you want to do is you want to know exactly who did what. So when your attorney is writing the complaint, they have a clear idea saying this officer did X, this officer did Y, and this officer did Z. So it would have been good, and a lot of people are intimidated to do this, and it is a little scary the first few times, but you get used to it. You go up to the officer with your camera, and you say, "What is your name and badge number?" Um, in most jurisdictions, they're required to, but not all. Sometimes they'll flat out just not give you their information. You should still ask, so they can be identified later. And when they actually find out what happened and the kids are telling the story, they can show the kids the video and be like, "Oh, is this the officer that actually put you in handcuffs? Is this officer that asked you questions? Is this the officer that detained you?" Because in a civil rights lawsuit, when you read the language of 42 USC 1983, which is the civil rights, the federal civil rights statute, it requires that you sue an individual. It has to be a person that you sue. So you have to sue the individual cop. And if there's other factors, you can add the department or the city and what's called a Monell claim. But at the very basics, you need an individual to sue. So it's very important you get the officers' names and know who did what. So that's a really good point to have to make just by her asking for these cards. But it's very important in the long run that you get their information if you are deciding to sue.
Y'all put 12-year-old and 15-year-old in fucking handcuffs. Like, I don't. That's. And they ain't no threat. What threat did they pose to y'all?
Uh, so do you need to be a threat to be handcuffed? No, you don't. Let's talk about detainments. Um, being detained is not being arrested. Being detained, it means you're being held pending an investigatory detention, or it's an investigatory detention. It means they're investigating a possible crime that has happened. It does not mean you're under arrest. And many times, officers will put you in handcuffs to intimidate you and to scare you into talking or into compliance or to telling them something. And usually this comes in stages. If you're in a vehicle, first stage they'll tell you to get out of the car and then talk to you out there to try to intimidate you. If that doesn't work, they'll put you in handcuffs. If that doesn't work, they'll put you while in handcuffs into the back of the car and have you sit there for a while to make you think, oh, they're gonna arrest me, so I better start talking. All right, all these are intimidation tactics. You never have to talk to the police. I've done videos um, that explain this in detail. I'm gonna keep saying it. Don't talk to cops. They're not your friend. Their job is to collect evidence, which is what you're saying. What you say is evidence. Collect evidence to lock you in a cage and take your money. Now that doesn't mean some people don't deserve to be locked up. There's some bad people out there. Um, But in we're having a crisis of over policing, and using police to um, really hurt the working class. And in that sense, I really want to get this information out there so that people know their rights. Let's continue.
Especially y'all don't even live over here. And y'all come over here, y'all do this to our kids. I told you, we from Emmett's place. The first they gonna do that shit to our kids. Because what they did to Martha. They're talking about something. Record this little boy. They can run, they kids, they scared. Of course they gonna run.
Okay, it's hard to hear what happened. They try to kind of explain something, but it sounds like the kids were doing something. The cops came and they ran. Cops chased them, maybe, and stopped them. Again, I'm speculating. I'm trying to figure out what's going on. So what's the rule on that? If you run from the police, even if you did nothing wrong, if the police interpret that you are trying to avoid them, that is reasonable suspicion. The courts have determined this numerous times. It's enough for them to chase you and stop you and put handcuffs on you and put their hands on you and beat you into submission if necessary to figure out that you did nothing wrong. Right? Even if you did nothing wrong, you turn around, you look over the corner, there's a cop, you get startled and you start running. That's enough for them to give chase, and hurt you. And it sounds like that may have been what was happening. They're playing something. The cops came. They ran. Cops caught them, put them in handcuffs, and caught the parents. Um, that's what I think happened. I don't know if anybody knows the full story of what's happening here. Put it below in the comments. I'm interested in knowing what happened here. That's what I think happened. So let's continue.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You okay? Come on. Let me see.
Okay, so she's rubbing her wrists, meaning that the handcuffs were possibly put on too tight. This would be considered a possible use of force. Possible, excessive, depends on the situation. You have to look at the totality of the circumstances in police force cases. If you're interested, you can read the case Graham versus Connor, or Connor versus Graham. I think it's Graham versus Connor. If I'm wrong, you flip that, and that tells you what factors, and there's other factors, but you have to look at the totality of the situation, what was going on, what crime was being committed, did they give chase, how big were they, are they fighting, um, and that would, taking all those factors into consideration, you would determine if the force was reasonable in the situation. And there's other rules about you have to look at it from the officer's point of view at the time and not through hindsight. And there's a lot of rules that come with that case. But that's the case you want to read if you want to understand how the courts interpret use of force for police. She's rubbing her hands, meaning that she might have some kind of injury. Perhaps they were too tight. I would guess that she's not really a threat. Um, I would assume, just given basic inferences, that she probably didn't fight them, that they had time to properly put on the handcuffs, um, and properly engage the double lock, which is a little button that prevents the handcuffs from getting tighter. Um, and if they put on the handcuffs too tight, especially a child of this age who's not really a threat, um, she may have a lawsuit for injuries. So if you have something like this happen to you, one of the first things you want to do, as soon as you can, go to a doctor and get it documented. All right, especially if it's really hurting you. If it's if it's sore for a couple hours, well, maybe that's not going to be too much of a big deal to take into court and worth the money of the fees and filing fees and court fees and hiring a lawyer and all that stuff. But if you actually have serious injuries, um, then yeah, get it documented. Find a civil rights lawyer. They're going to do a government torts claim, um, and then if that doesn't resolve it, there will be a case filed. Um, so another good thing to talk about, just coming from this video, what do you do when you're injured?
Ooh, little baby. You all right? Did y'all take getting him out too?
Also, I want you to notice how the cops aren't really responding. They're trained to do this. They're trained not to engage, not to respond. Um, uh, Whether they did something wrong or not, they know not to incriminate themselves, and uh, they are just kind of like hands off. Let them go. We're not going to say anything. We're not going to respond. They're doing that on purpose, and you can tell the lady is. I guess she's one of the mothers. She is trying to get some kind of reaction from them. She wants them to talk back. She wants them to talk back so she can talk back. That's the feeling you get when you're that emotionally enraged and emotionally high. You're trying to get a reaction out of them. And they're not reacting. That's how they're trained. And honestly, that's for the best because with cops, it's a volatile situation. Um, I would rather have them not react than react violently, and that's often the case. They will get you for disorderly conduct, um, or in California we would call 148, resisting, obstructing, interfering with the duties of a police officer. So there's other excuses that they can use when you act out like that and you start yelling at them. Um, Sometimes they do retaliate. And here's the thing: even if you are yelling at them, if they have probable cause for anything, for disorderly conduct, for obstructing, uh, the Supreme Court has ruled that they can retaliate against you even if their main intention is retaliation, as long as there's probable cause that a crime was committed, they can arrest you. As obvious as it may be, and they can even say, "I'm arresting you in retaliation. I wouldn't have arrested you if you wouldn't have called me a pig, but now you are uh, creating a public disturbance." Whatever. They'll make something up. That's unfortunate. And again, I want to say that I am not just because I'm explaining how this works doesn't mean I agree with these laws. Okay, I didn't write these laws. I'm just explaining how they work. So don't give me crap in the comments about how this is how these are my beliefs. It's not me. Just telling you how it works.
Y'all have you called? Can you look at my wrist? You got my baby crying and shit. Are you okay? This is crazy.
Like, let Trayvon out. Trayvon's still in the car. Mom, Trayvon is still in the car.
How old are you?
12. He's in the
He's
car.
12 years old.
No, he's a kid in our community. Which car is he in?
Which car is he in? So there's someone still detained?
Oh, this one. We have another one in here. I'm filing a lawsuit on Ava. Watch this. I promise you that. Okay. Promise you. Record him, girl. This is a baby, y'all. This is a baby. Kid. Y'all,
That kid looks about 8 years old. Maybe 10. Maybe.
This is a baby. Son of a bitches. This is a baby. Record him.
Hey, Santino, where's your mom at?
Don't worry about where the fuck his mama at. You weren't worried about that when you just put our child in a fucking handcuffs. Come on. You taking her? Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry, boy.
Okay. So she says she's gonna sue. Let's think about that. I believe they did say the kids ran. Unfortunately, if you run, you invite the police to detain you. Whether you're doing something illegal or not. A detainment means they can handcuff you, they can secure you and your movements. Okay. They can secure your property, any immediate property you have on you. They can take. Um, they can't search it without your permission or probable cause or a warrant or some other factors, but they generally just can't search your bags. I don't know if there's a lawsuit here. I don't think there is, unless the cops actually detain them for no reason. So you can be detained for anything. That bar is very, very low. Um, they just have to reasonably suspect and be able to articulate that criminal activity is afoot. That some crime. They don't even have to be that specific with it. Just some criminal activity may be afoot, and we're investigating that. And running away does invite them immediate. Just running away is immediate reasonable suspicion. So I don't know if there's a lawsuit here. They were, if they were lawfully detained, and the parents were contacted, and they were released into the parents' custody. I don't know if there's anything they're going to be able to do unless there's something else. The handcuffs were put on too tight. That's one thing. There may be some kind of personal injury um, case there for force. Uh, but other than that, I don't know how much the law would give them remedy. And again, these aren't my rules. All right, this is how the courts work. Also, this is this isn't legal advice. All right, don't be writing this down I'll give you places to start. I'll give you some cases, but don't be taking my quotes as gospel on what the law is. I'm just speaking from my knowledge and experience, which is limited. So, especially if this is your video, don't listen to me. This is not legal advice. You need to find a lawyer in your jurisdiction that will tell you what the laws are where you are. Okay, I'm just speaking out of my ass and very generally. But I think we're gonna stop there. I think we kind of broke that down as much as we could. And I like looking at videos like that because there's things that happen in there that it's not about the video, but there's all kinds of tangents that we can go down, roads we can go down and discuss. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. I want to thank everyone who has subscribed so far. If you're enjoying these videos, please subscribe. It's going to really help out the channel. And until next time, Duck the Law.